If you've ever played with building blocks, you start clicking pieces together, stacking them higher and higher to build a giant tower. But you also know the secret. If your very first block is crooked, the whole thing will eventually tip over and crash. Long before we had modern technology or laser levels, ancient builders understood this perfectly. Look at this ancient stone foundation. See that perfectly square piece right at the edge? That is the cornerstone. It served as the reference point for the entire project. By making sure that one single stone was perfectly straight and incredibly strong, every other rock laid next to it would line up perfectly too. The strength of the walls, the shape of the rooms, and the safety of the roof all depended on the perfection of that very first foundational piece. In a letter found in the Bible, called 1 Peter, the writer takes this idea of building with stone and applies it to something much bigger. He describes God as a master builder, constructing a vast spiritual house. For a project this important, God needed the perfect cornerstone. The text tells us that God selected Jesus to be that flawless, unbreakable foundation. Now, not everyone thought this was the right choice. The passage points out that human builders actually rejected this stone. They threw it out. But to God, this specific stone was his most precious and chosen piece. Because Jesus is a perfectly straight and absolutely unbreakable foundation, you can build your entire life upon him without the fear of the structure collapsing under you. But here is where God's building project gets really interesting. He isn't using ordinary clay bricks or heavy wooden beams. He is using the people who follow him. See how these shapes pulse? The text describes followers of Jesus as living stones, active pieces of this cosmic architecture. Because these stones are alive, they need to grow. The writer compares this to how a baby craves milk to grow strong. We take in this pure spiritual milk by learning about God's love. This essential growth is what makes us sturdy enough to support the rest of the structure in God's house. To show just how valuable these living stones are, God gives his people some incredible titles. He calls them a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and his own special possession. Having this identity comes with a complete change of scenery. Believers are called out of the darkness and brought directly into God's wonderful light. Before this happened, they were on their own, living without mercy, but now they have received an ocean of God's mercy. These royal titles signal a complete transformation, taking a person from being a nobody to an essential member of God's own family. But the letter also addresses a tough reality. Even as chosen living stones, we will face people who act harshly and treat us unfairly. When someone hurls an insult at you or treats you badly for no reason, the immediate instinct is to strike back. We want to retaliate. This diagram shows the goal. As living stones, we refuse to hit back. We stay firmly lined up with our cornerstone and choose to do good anyway. Taking unfair treatment while continuing to do good isn't a sign of weakness. It is a commendable act that proves the strength of your foundation. Jesus gave us the ultimate example of how to handle unfairness. Even when he was treated terribly, he committed no sin, he told no lies, and he never threatened the people who insulted him. Instead of fighting back, Jesus entrusted himself entirely to God. He knew that God is the only one who sees everything and judges with perfect justice. He chose to endure suffering and carry our sins on the cross so that we could heal, leave our mistakes behind, and live for what is right. By choosing not to retaliate, you step exactly into the footprints Jesus left. You trust God to handle the justice while you handle the healing. When you put all of this together, the building starts to take shape. Every time we do good and show respect, we click perfectly into place alongside other believers. The text says this kind of life silences foolish talk. When we live a visibly good and kind life, we prove the critics wrong without needing to say a word. With thousands of living stones locked together, perfectly aligned to the foundation of Jesus, we create a radiant masterpiece. It shines so brightly that everyone around can see it. So when you face a tough week, remember your identity. You are a chosen living stone. Look to your cornerstone, hold your position, and choose to do good so the whole world can see God's masterpiece.